everybody, and welcome here today to another Kerfuffle Spotlight. And I am delighted to have with us Tim Barnett from Credas. How are you, sir?
I'm really good, thanks. Good to see you, Simon.
It is good to see you. And Tim, this unashamedly came about because our good friends, we were chatting with, was it Desres?
It was Desres. It was the ever youthful Rich, wasn't it?
Yeah, disgusting. I put that down to his vegan lifestyle, but I'm still not going that way. That's that. He makes those choices, and that's good. But yeah, we were having a good one. And I'll tell you what, wasn't it? You could see I was trying to do my best Roger Moore impression with my eyebrows going up as you hit me with a few of the standout facts about Credas. And I had to be really honest, for somebody who allegedly knows about the supplier scene as well as anybody. I said, you know, Credas has always been a massive name and I've just kind of known it. But even I didn't understand the size and scale. And we said, look, we've got to get you guys on board, haven't we? And really lay open really that kind of some of the urban myths about you, some of the stuff that is absolutely true, and why you're so relevant and doing so much for other people. So that's what the course of today is about, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah, we're those quiet guys actually who sit in the background a little bit, but you walk into an office at an estate agency somewhere in the UK, and there's a 50% chance we'll be on the computers there. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it would be good to open up a little bit so people know a little bit more about us.
You don't worry about that, because the one thing I'm not is quiet. So you do your quiet thing, and you let me hang on to your coattails. Okay, good. So and that's actually today we came up with it when we said the quiet giants of UK Proptech. So I think it's like, let's start right from the top now, Tim, and you could talk about your own personal background as well here, but just so everyone understands as well, for those who have been under rock, what is it exactly that Credas does?
Yeah, so really nicely in one nutshell, what it is that Credas does is we provide a software solution so that largely estate agents and to a lesser degree conveyancers can complete their AML and compliance checks quickly, easily, remotely, and pretty cheaply as well. That's it. That's all we do.
That's nice. So an everyday thing for most agents there, maybe not the most exciting business, but absolutely vital key part of compliance, isn't it, to have that?
Yeah, it is, right. And look, I'm sure we'll touch on this later, but for me, right, compliance is serious business, right? If we get it wrong, or our customers get it wrong, people can end up in jail or have company-ending fines. So yeah, we view ourselves as a safe pair of hands. We like words like dependable, trustworthy, reliable. Dare I say even boring? I'm sitting here in a pair of corduroy trousers. But we're not a marketing agency, we're not flash and stuff like that. We just want to be the people in the background who do what we do and help others flog houses, basically.
There is nothing wrong with being dependable, being slightly boring. As I always say, that you don't want exciting in an accountancy company. That's what went wrong with that Enron, wasn't it? Those guys were exciting as it comes, didn't end so well. So yeah, there's a place for sensibilities. And just to be clear, I've got my blue cords on well, so we're on the right thing. So
I tell you, corduroy's making a comeback, I swear.
I'm determined. I haven't gone for the full suit yet, but that jacket's coming at some stage. So give us a bit more background on the company itself, then, Tim. What are the things that people should know about Credas?
Okay, well, we're full of human beings. That's the first thing. We're not a massive corporate by any means. So we're based in Cardiff on the coast here, which is nice. Bit of a cliche, we're in a converted old brewery, so it's all glass and brick everywhere, and kids sitting around on beanbags and all that sort of stuff, right? Sure. Which clashes with me and my V-neck
you got the Google thing going on. That's great.
So yeah, it's all very nice. We're an independently run business, but we are part of a bigger group. So we're part of a group called the Indigo Group, and the Indigo Group is a big business, has annual revenues approaching £400 million a year. So yeah, it's a big old beast based in Cardiff as well, and we also have offices at group level in London. We were founded in 2016 actually, but we didn't really trade for the first couple of years, all about building out the tech and stuff. We really started trading in earnest about 2018. So it's still a relatively young business, but I mean the growth we've had has been exponential. Literally, the definition of exponential is more than doubling every year, and we've done that year after year after year, which has been exciting actually.
Fantastic.
And the business is it's run by myself as a CEO and Kevin, who's a CTO and co-founder. And probably a big thing actually is we're a real values-based business, Simon. We spend a lot of time on our values and culture, and they're not just a poster on the wall, if that makes sense. So every day we're making decisions based on our values. And we spend a lot of time to make sure that we look after our team, both the mental health, the physical health, and we're quite an ethically based business. So we turn down opportunities every now and again if we feel they don't really align.
They don't align, yeah. I think that's really good. So, one of the things that does frustrate me the most is and I know it implicitly what you're talking about. There's so many businesses out there that have those slogans on the wall, and there's just no match between those coffee cup slogans and how they do business. And that's always the public eventually, or the client base always sees through that, doesn't it? So
it's a funny thing, actually, right? Now, quite often people, I've run bigger businesses, I've run smaller businesses before, and I always used to think all of this sort of airy-fairy stuff was a luxury for companies who had loads of money, but I don't view it in that way. It's not a luxury. In fact, I view the success we've had so far as a combination of two things. Number one, the technology, but because we have these values and culture, not, it's nice to tack those on when you can afford it. It's absolutely intrinsic, and it matters in very small ways, actually. So, if the money's in the bank and a bill needs paying, we'll pay it early. Do you know what I mean? Why hang on to it? Why would you do that? If we haven't emailed somebody, rather than make up some sort of BS, the email got lost or whatever, we just say, I'll be really, really busy. I'm sorry I'm late sending you this reply. And we try and run that all the way through our marketing, through our finance, through our HR, how we do with each other, and our sales process as well. I don't think any of your listeners have been hounded by Credas sales guys. We'll do a demo, we'll follow up a couple of times, and we just leave you to it. If you want to come back, that's great. If you don't, that's fine too.
That's really refreshing. you can see me falling off my chair here. It's like, but so I mean, just touching further on there, are they a formalized set of values, or is it is it a more higher level thing, do the right thing kind of approach?
No. I'm really pleased with the way we did it, actually. So what we did is the Indigo Group is owned, the shareholders are 5 different guys, and then the shareholders in Credas is the group, and myself and Kev. And what we did is we pulled all of the employees and all of the shareholders. And, these are very busy, successful men, right? And we hired out a hotel. And on every table, we had a shareholder, a manager, different levels within the business. So we had all the tables, and every table had a mix of people on. And then each table wrote down the values that were important to them, right, to the guys on that table. And then one by one, we went around the tables and we put all their values up on a big screen. So we just created like a grid, table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12, 15, all came up with their own 6 values. And it really highlighted, it just fell off the page straight away, what was important to everyone in the business. And out of those, we picked what our values are. The words are the same words that we all use. There's only a dozen words about honesty and transparency and all this sort of stuff. But it's not really about the words, it's what underpins it. And so our values are set by all of us. One set by me as a CEO, and I decided, and that's where everyone lives by, is everyone had an equal say in it. And once you decide what those values are, like I say, it's easy to stick it on a poster, stick it on the wall, and stick it on your website, and fine. But look, we make decisions all the time, right? And sometimes it's embarrassing, because it involves you owning up to mistakes that maybe a client would never have known about, or even repaying money. Yeah, because we cock up, cock up all day. I cock up 10 times, 12 times a day, if not significantly more, as the guys would tell you. But we always go back to our values, and we do the right thing. And there's 2 reasons for that. Number one is about decency, right? But it's also commercially sensible. We're growing so quick, mate, that we can't afford to be mis-selling to somebody and then having a hassle with a customer for 3-4 months where we argue about this, that, and the other, right? It's just do it properly in the first place, and we don't have that aggravation. If somebody doesn't want to be with us for whatever reason, then that's fine. Let it go. If somebody doesn't want to buy off us, that's okay. And the sales guys are trained that we provide solutions, and sometimes we signpost people to competitors. Because you're still being part of the solution, isn't it? There's no point in selling something that.
No, I love that approach, Tim. I mean, that's wonderful. Isn't it? I've done a little bit of that in the past, albeit it had to be said when normally we were full of our. We had no more project slots left, so I'd knock them over to the competitors, and competitors was on the whole thing. Oh, that's fantastic. But I probably wasn't doing it from the right place that you guys clearly are. But what I love about that approach is this isn't that some clever marketing people have said, this is what we're going to put across there, and then it doesn't live within the business. And these values do need to live, don't they? And I think I came across what you just said there there was a wonderful agency, Andrew Grant Estate Agents, and a gentleman over there, David Stewart Smith, and I just had to own up in one day. One of our guys had literally just missed an email, and unfortunately, because of that, an important report had to be done. I don't know whether I'd had too much the night before, but for once I decided to use honesty, and I just went in and said, I'm really, really sorry, we've dropped the ball on this. The email that came back couldn't have been any more complimentary. It was like, this is why we do business with you. That honesty has really, really mattered, and thank you very much. And I was like, my God, this is like a Dr. Evil moment.
You should try that on for site. It's important, right? At the start of this conversation, we were talking about words like trust, dependable, reliable. So when you cock up, which everyone does, when you phone up a customer and go, do you know what, mate, we screwed up here, I'm really sorry, we'll put this right, and it won't happen again, and this is what we're going to do to make sure it doesn't. You know, people go, oh, you know, they're the good guys.
It puts a lot in that almost that bank account of the relationship, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, because you've been clear on that one, although something, you know, ostensibly bad has gone wrong, you've tried to do the right thing. So I think that's fantastic. So give us an idea then of what sort of businesses do you service then? Do you predominantly deal with the larger guys as the largest AML provider? Is it smaller ones? Is it a complete mix? Where's your sweet spot in terms of clients?
It's really quite easily defined, really. So 90% of our business is related to the property transaction sector.
Yeah.
And within that, the biggest one is estate agents for us, right? They are by far our biggest customer base, followed by conveyancing, which is growing very quickly for us. Yeah. And then followed after that by much smaller margins, mortgage provision, law firms, you know, financial services. But really the big one is estate agency, followed by conveyancing. And that, like I said, 90% of our business is all circulated around that property transaction. The other 10% is some mad other stuff that we end up doing and get dragged into, if I'm honest. But we're very clearly defined, right, as an AML IDV provider, and we really specialize in that property transaction space.
And what do you feel sets you apart? You know, what is there's other competitors in here. We've talked about the values, that's a very real tangible bit, but in terms of the proposition itself, what do you feel, how do you guys differentiate yourself when putting yourself up against everybody else? Because if I was being unfair, would it be unfair to say that actually the AML process is either commodified or is going down that route? Is that?
Yeah, I think to answer your question, first of all, as to what makes us unique is, first of all, the solution is used by all ends of the market. So we have customers, and you know, thousands of them, that are single branch estate agents, 2 employees, all the way up to, you know, it's public record, Connell's are a client of ours, who is the biggest estate agent in the UK, right? And literally everything between those. So that's important. You need to be able, because it's the same problems, right, that you're solving, and that's what we're here for. People talk about solutions and stuff like this, right? But it's literally, AML is a pain for estate agents because it's a barrier to the sale progressing, and we literally have a solution, which is we can reduce that pain, right? And we can't make it disappear completely, but we can reduce it significantly. And that's the same problems faced by a one-man band as it is by Connell's. But to answer your question to what makes us unique, there's a few things really, right? The big one is the fact that we're reasonably unusual. Sorry about that. My lights are on a timer, by the way, right? So if I don't wave my arms around every 20 minutes.
I thought you just had enough. That was...
I just fade out of meetings. That's how I leave. Look, our tech stack, we touched on this when I spoke to you with Rich and Desres, right? And they have a similar approach. So our tech stack is nearly all our own IP. We make it ourselves, right? Our mobile app, we make it ourselves. Our portals, make it ourselves. Right? We don't do much of going out, getting proprietary stuff and banging our logo on it. Yeah. And what that means is we can be extremely agile and we can deploy changes very, very quickly. And customers, you know, they say, it'd be really good if you move this button over, or if you added this on, and within a few days we can do that. And that's very, very important for us, and particularly for our integration clients as well, because it means that we can support them very, very quickly. The other reason why that's important is because, and not many people know this, right, but we license our technology to many of the other providers in the market, our competitors even. And so instead of us paying license fees to others to bring their tech in and us rebadging it, is actually other people are paying us for our tech and sticking it under the hood of their solutions. So
you essentially become ubiquitous in terms of rolling your tech, the core tech out there, at least for the...
100%. I tell the guys, I refer to us as a Switzerland company. right?
Okay.
I mean, that's, you said at the start, we're quite quiet, right? We don't take strong positions. People try and pull us in one camp over another, and don't deal with them and deal with us, all this sort of stuff. But we maintain a really neutral, quiet, a footprint in the market, and we supply platforms, we supply little guys, supply big guys, we supply competitors with technology, and that's part of our values in a way. Do you know what I mean? We want to play with everyone, because I think two reasons for that, and I always go back to it, is decency, but also it's commercially sensible to do that.
That makes perfect sense there, doesn't it? Yeah. And so just touching on that a little bit further, I mean, given what you said there again, it's worth reiterating that Credas is the largest AML provider in the estate agency sector. Why to date have we heard less about you guys then on that approach? Is it because you've been focusing on those other deals, through almost sub-deployment there? Why has it been, I suppose, that you haven't banged your job? Is it just you haven't had to?
No, it's to be honest with you, it's quite a deliberate decision that we've made. Look, both myself as a CEO and Kev, CTO and co-founder, nobody knows who we are. Right, we can go to an estate agency conference or whatever, walk through the room. No stand on any stages. Do very little media stuff like this, if I'm honest. And so we neither of us deliberately don't have Twitter or Instagram or anything like that. We keep a very low profile, and we reflect that in the business as well. We don't take controversial positions. Do you know what I mean? We don't court controversy. When we get investment, we don't scream and shout about it, and our egos don't need that stuff, right? I view us, Simon, as like a referee. If nobody's talking about Credas, I sit in the background, just being good at what we're doing. If nobody's talking about us, we're doing a good job, if that makes sense.
That's really, again, it's a really refreshing position to be in. And actually, not doing all that stuff on Twitter and Facebook and everything gives you probably another 17 hours a day to actually be efficient. So,
I've had high-profile jobs in the past, and I'm quite happy. I don't need that profile myself. For the business, I keep on going back to this, right? We're not a marketing agency. I don't want to be known as, we don't be famous. We don't want to, we just want to be competent, sitting behind our customers, giving them tools so they can sell houses, right? More efficiently. And if we're doing that, we'll be successful in our own right. All the commercials, all the numbers will look after itself. And so we don't need to scream and shout and bang our drum or anything like that. We don't like it. We want to be seen as reliable, dependable, safe pair of hands, trustworthy, if that makes sense. What flash and famous and high profile is less relevant to us, really. Is being competent and.
I've got that niche boxed off into. You don't worry about that. So there's a very real thing there, though, Tim, isn't there? That because of that supply and scale that you do have, is, well, first of all, there's the confidence that you can meet. Some providers are often, they might have a good proposition, but they don't scale well. So, certainly mid-sized organizations, large organizations really need to understand that companies that they're partnering with can deliver on that, so they don't suffer from the logistics of supply side issues. But the other thing is, when you've got all that exposure, there aren't many issues that you won't have seen before, will there? So you can, hopefully stop the agents suffering from the same challenges because people have experienced it before and you've solved the problem.
No, you're right, actually, right. So with integrations, you can integrate our system in, there's a billion different ways you can do it. Just depends on your own process. Typically, we will have seen it before, right? And that's what you get from scales. Now, when people have challenge, you can advise them. You will have seen it before. And some of the stats, right, still amaze me. So one I saw the other day is that every 5 seconds, somebody somewhere will be doing a Credas check. Right? Every 5 seconds.
You need to do the Bono, do the click.
I need some sort of star or ding. I've got a couple for you, right? Then, so look, we do a couple of million checks over the next 12 months, right? And that's growing massively every year, and we've been doing that for a few years now. So if you take away under 18s, a huge proportion of the UK adult population has gone through a Credas process. 60% of the top 20 estate agency brands in the UK use Credas. 40% research shows of all the digital AML checks in the UK from estate agents go through Credas. Our mobile app it was ranked a couple of days ago 7th in the UK for all business apps, right? So that's alongside LinkedIn, Uber, Microsoft Teams from a company in Cardiff. So I think our reviews on the iOS. So I was looking at yesterday, like 100,000 reviews. It's the highest ranked AML app in the world. And so all this stuff is not well known if that makes sense. But what it does is just indicate really that, you know, we do operate at scale, and hopefully we know what we're doing and we do a good job of it. But yeah, that you said at the top, the quiet giant, and probably, you know, the stats show that, you know, we do have a significant, you know, certainly the biggest provider in the estate agency market in the UK for AML. And the quiet bit is quite deliberate, actually, if I'm honest, and it's part of that.
I mean, it doesn't sound like you can remain quiet for that much longer, though. And what I take from that, though, Tim, is that, you know, there's a lot of businesses out there that can do the volume bit, and they do it, you know, they can do that well, but it's much rarer that they actually then tie that along with the, first of all, the cultural values and looking after your people and the kind of doing the same thing. And then, dare I say it as well, you can do volume, but you might not do it very well. So to have that level of confirmation from your own, you know, there, I mean, that to hear those, it's absolutely mind-blowing to hear that you are there in that app store and getting reviews like that. It's for somebody to go out of their way to give a review on something, let's face it, isn't Candy Crush, I think was the way you said it to me. It's bloody impressive.
Yeah, look, you know, the next highest ranked AML app in the UK is, you know, it's like 12 or 30,000 reviews or something, which is still pretty good. But it gives you, if we're on 100,000, it gives you a sense of the difference in scale. I think it's a big challenge, right, actually, as a leadership team, is scaling, but maintaining all the things that made you successful when you're a startup. Does that make sense? And
it's that classic one, isn't it? It's was it acting small when you've become big, isn't it? That's the retaining all that nimbleness and that ability to care is one of those classic approaches, isn't it?
We're probably helped, if I'm being honest, at the moment, by we're in this sweet spot, okay, in our maturity cycle, where, you know, clearly we're operating at scale, but we're still of a size where, you know, customers will see me on a meeting if it's a deal of a big enough size and stuff, and it requires my input, or tenders. Quite often, I'll be involved in writing that. Whereas when we get significantly bigger, that will be done at a lower level. It'll be done by sales director or an enterprise BDM or something like that. And same for Kev. You know, he in some of the technical meetings, he's the guy who wrote, you know, Credas and created it out of his own hands. But he'll be sitting in that meeting, and we win. That's why we win all of these. You know, if you're looking at the top 20, it's public record, Purple Bricks and Connells and Strikes and Leaders Romans and all these guys, is because they get to sit down and they can pick up the phone and speak to the CEO or speak to the CTO, or I've got a good team beneath us who pick it up afterwards as well. So yeah, we are in that sweet spot at the moment where we can still be quite close to our customers, and we want to maintain that for as long as we can. Many companies would have already moved past that point now. Does that make sense? And we have determined to keep it really flat as long as possible.
Yeah, and look, again, somebody who's playing devil's advocate might say, well, you know, kind of, so what, you've got those big boys. But I've always said there's a really big benefit that the smaller independents get from those kind of companies being on board, because, you know, let's face it, most smaller businesses don't have the time, energy, inclination to do those official tender documents and procurement processes. So knowing the fact that those companies have actually been through that and decided that you're the right person to come on board, you get a halo effect, don't you, being passed down. And there's, again, just another thumbs up there to show that this is a company that is delivering.
Yeah, we're in a good spot. You know, we are hiring quite a lot at the moment. We built a new commercial team and stuff. But part of that, I mean, a big part of it, right, is all about our values and culture piece. It really is the bedrock, if I'm honest. That and the tech is really what we're all about. And it's easy to talk about this stuff, but, you know, we put our money where our mouth is. So a big chunk of the business has been given to the staff. Again, not public knowledge. In fact, it was acknowledged to the staff 2 weeks ago when they were informed, so they were delighted. Nice. But I'm not talking about a couple of cent on the end. You know, it's double figures. Right. And again, you know, as shareholders, we have to do that. But it's part really of the culture of the business. And I've always thought, right, you can tell a lot by a company how they treat their staff as to how they probably treat their customers.
I agree.
I think when customers see stuff like this, they understand, you know, when they got a problem, they pick up the phone, and if we haven't done a good job, they'll get a phone call off me going, sorry about that, let's go and have a bite to eat somewhere, we'll put that right very, very quickly for you. And so yeah, we care about this stuff, and it sounds twee and glib and all that sort of stuff, but it's genuine actually. And I think that's a big part of our success actually. I mean, we're winning these tenders because people aren't seeing us as suppliers. We very quickly become technology partners. You know, the software runs through and embeds itself quite quickly. The teams get to know each other, and end up socializing and stuff. You could see that with Des Res when I popped up on this previously with Richard.
Yeah, it's very clear.
Come on, my mates, do you know what I mean? And you can have a beer and stuff like that. And it's very important that we try and keep that for as long as we possibly can.
Yeah, that stuff really, really matters. Well, let's just drill into that in a bit more detail, if that's okay. I mean, you have spoken about there, obviously, having a wide range of partners and who integrate with your solutions. So how does that work? Do you have a standard API that you pass over to them? Or is it you when you talk to the likes of, somebody like people like Repit, for example, that have their own framework? Or do you just have a very flexible, what works best approach? How does the whole integration side fit for you as a business?
Yeah, it's very important for us. Actually, about half our volumes come through our API integrations, the rest through our Credas portal.
Yeah.
And look, examples of integrations are out there on mass scale. So ULS with their digital move platform,
yeah.
I Am Property with Move Butler and I Am Sold. You've got Lifetime Legal and Hive and law firm services with their Minerva platform, Index Property Searches, part of Dye & Durham, Red Brick Solutions. So, yeah, all these guys. We talked about Des Res, Apex, Pally, Agent OS, Voltier. All of these guys integrate us because we're very easy to work with, right? And that's again because we made the technology ourselves and we built it specifically so it can be plugged into other estate agency technology solutions. And so the Des Res one took us 4 days, and these are 2 mature platforms. Teams just got together in a room. 4 days later, you've got a fully integrated solution. And a big part of that is because it's our own IP. And we've got a really good sort of system. When an integration client is onboarded, they get given their own sandbox test environment. They get a direct line of communication into our dev team at a senior dev level, which is absolutely key. And it's a really, really well documented, simple REST API. And basically, another key one, actually, if I'm being really honest, is commercially we remove all the barriers as well. So we don't charge setup fees, we don't charge people for supporting them to get it up and running, we don't charge connection fees or refresh fees, nothing like that at all. We give them all the tools, they plug it in themselves with their own devs, and then they're up and running. And we just make it easy for people, if I'm honest, mate. It's as simple as.
Well, it's hard enough, isn't it, getting things going, getting them underway without having artificial blockers like those ones you just highlighted. So I can certainly see why getting rid of those as an approach there. And I mean, just to put that in context, and I know a little bit about this sort of stuff, that's pretty much unheralded to hear that, as you said, 2 mature businesses do a fully fledged, and it was a great bit of integration when I looked at it in that shorter time scale. I mean, it's that's pretty much setting the benchmark for integrations in this industry as far as I can see.
Yeah, I think so, and that's because you've got companies with their own IP, their own stuff they built themselves. They're not just taking other people's stuff and whacking a badge on it. Because as soon as you need to get into the guts of it, then to do anything technical, you're stymied or you're reliant on another party. If you made it yourself and stuck it together and in the room down there full of very clever people, you can do whatever you want with it then, isn't it? It makes it very flexible and stuff. And I think when you allied that to good support, most people try and keep their devs away from people, and we're like, look, pick up the phone, have a chat, here's the email address. We don't put these barriers up, and then we don't say, look, it's going to cost you 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand just to even start on this. We just go, look, you do the integration, we'll help you get up and running. Part of that thing, the numbers and money will take care of itself down there.
So just on that point there, because this is something that frustrates people a lot, there are people at the end of the phone if you need to.
Yeah, and look, we do it all the time. If somebody's struggling with their integration, I mean, strictly speaking, it's not our problem. It's for customers to integrate into us, not us to integrate into other customers, and there's thousands of them out there. But if somebody's struggling, right, we give them all the documentation, all the help and all the guides, but we give them a direct line of comms in. So if they need to drop an email to a senior dev, if they need to arrange a video call like this, if they want to do a share screen, we'll jump on, we'll help them out, get them up and running as quick as we can. And it's in our interest too, right? As soon as they're up and running, they're doing checks, we're earning money, so it's in our interest. But there's no point in putting barriers in the way and saying, right, you're going to have to check 10, 15 grand as a connection fee or sign up fee or anything like that. We just move all that stuff out of the way and get people up and running as quick as you can, and then a nice long relationship. And that's how we make our money, if I'm honest.
There sounds so much great stuff here, Tim. I almost have to feel a bit sort of cynical and sort of say, why would somebody not be doing business with you at the moment? Let me phrase it like that. Is it just the awareness piece that they probably haven't come across? The inertia of having been with somebody else, I suppose, would be a key.
Yeah.
Just changing sometimes is perceived as too much as a pain in the arse.
Yeah, it's a good question actually, right? So only about half the market at the minute are using digital solutions for AML. So still roughly half the market
Wow, I didn't
estate
know that.
in the estate agency, still getting people to walk in and photocopying
Yeah.
a passport and asking people for utility bills and bank statements and sticking it in a filing cabinet for 6 years out the back, right? So still, half the market hasn't adopted it yet. Of those who are adopting, I said earlier, 40% of them already go through Credas, so we've got a big chunk of that. Of those who go elsewhere, there's a couple of reasons for that normally. Number one, some of it is inertia. Very difficult, right, for compliance to get people to change their processes.
Yeah,
it's very difficult. It involves training people, and the jeopardy if they get it wrong, it's big repercussions in terms of fines and stuff like that. So it's a very conservative area within a business. People don't poke around with the compliance. Once it's there, it works. Everyone sort of leaves it alone, right? So there's a bit of that. Some of it sometimes, and I said this earlier, right, it might be that one of our competitors offers a data source that we don't. Maybe they do DBS checks, I don't know, something that we don't. And that's cool. Do you know what I mean? If we're not the best solution in some particular instances, that's cool too. Do you know what I mean? That's fine. And that will be the case sometimes. But yeah, by and large, we have 0% churn in our contract customer base, right? And I'll repeat that number. The only people in the last 24 months who have broken their contract or haven't renewed their contract are ones that we've allowed to go to one of our resellers because maybe they want to consume other services off them.
Whoa! This is yeah. Forget all the rest of it. Look, so Tim, famously, I struggle with anything that isn't shiny and everything like that. Normally, when people come to me and talk about compliance, people have to products they have to explain to me for a good 10, 20 minutes and everything else there. But where I always pay attention is I pay attention to what people are saying about it. The fanboys obviously giving reviews, but then the next place you go to is what clients are being lost. What's the leaky bucket here? And you're telling us that you don't the size of business you are, and you're still not losing anyone on the back of that as well, apart from
yes. To be very clear, right, in our contracted customer base, which is hundreds and hundreds of people, we have a 0% churn rate. Where people have left is because they've gone to one of our resellers to still consume us, but through a wider service offering. In our pay-as-you-go customer base, which is thousands, we probably do get churn and people go in and out. That's non-contracted. People just buy credits and use them. But our contracted customer base, we have a 0% churn.
That's mind blowing. Well, if you take anything from those people that are watching it here, that shows they put their money where their mouth is on top of all this other stuff there. So that's absolutely fantastic to hear about that. So it seems a little bit trite to say what else are you doing. It sounds a bit like what have you done? What have you done for me lately, Tim? What product developments have you got in the pipeline, at least, that you can tell me about?
Well, do you know what? Right, the next 6 months will be transformational for us as a business. We have so much coming out in the next 6 months that will be almost recognisable actually by the end of the year to what we are now. So it's very, 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 very exciting. First of all, we've got a new platform, right, that comes out within the next fortnight. It's called Credas 3.0. And all our clients will migrate across to that at some point over the next 6 months. We're going to migrate.
There's no extra charge for that, or do they have to pay it?
No. Okay. No, what 3.0 does is everyone who uses us at the minute will be transferred in, and if they carry on using what they do at the minute, there's no charge for that at all. But there's a massive amount more in 3.0, and some of that will be given to them for free. Some of it is it's commercialized, so they'll pay more for it. But I'll give an example of some of the stuff that will be available with 3.0 is loads of new data sources. So open banking will be in there off the back for proof of funds and source of funds. We're partnered with Equifax on that. Again, look, it's probably the most expensive provider in the market actually, but it's the best, and that's what we're about. It's about so we can segment all the data.
Get what you pay for, basically.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. Company reports, credit reports, adverse media, enhanced fraud stuff that's coming in there. I've got a really cool thing for PEPs and sanctions, where each client will be able to set their own tolerances to maybe throttle down false positives and stuff, which is unique in the marketplace. I'm not aware of anything. And more integration of land registry. So lots more data. That's a big one. The next big one is we've got our own e-sign solution, which is our own IP. I keep on trying to get everyone. I keep on calling it Cresign, and everyone in the company hates it, but I keep on saying Cresign. I'm hoping it's going to stick us. But that's very cool.
Tim, forget your values. There's always a time to do the old Caesar says yay or nay. Go dictatorial.
Yeah, they're worried it'll start like setting a precedent, and it'll be like pre-AML or pre-IBB.
In my own particular thing, clearly there's not a time that I haven't tried to change the letter C to a K. That possibly can do. So
yeah,
they're sick to death of that, are they?
Yeah, so you've got to rep the brand, haven't you? But the e-sign is cool, right? Because it'll be all built into the platform. Like we're beginning away for free. You know, there's a freemium version of that, so people can have it for free, or if they're going to use it massively.
I mean, I think, you know, the solutions that are out there, the old granddaddies, you know, the DocuSigns and the Adobes, these are fantastic solutions, but there's no doubt about it. They can end up quite expensive, can't they, for some of the agents out there with numbers. Yeah,
mate, it can be a couple of quid a time, sometimes more. Do you know what I mean? So, like, if you're not, I can't remember how many you get for free. It's hundreds a month. Do you know what I mean? So, if you're a 2-3 branch agency and you use an e-sign, well, you know, when you'll get it for free in 3.0. It's only if you're using it massive scale. So that's pretty cool. That'll be upgraded later this year as well to the new QES standard, which LandReg have set. And get too nerdy about it, but it's a fully legally binding, you know, sealed, digitally sealed e-sign solution. That's cool. And then the really big one, actually, which will resonate most with customers, is our branding module. So what it'll mean is every single one of our customers can brand everything for their own brand. So that means when
you're literally then almost taking away the Credas branding to allow them to just, and is it co-branded or is it totally allowing?
No, it's really good actually, right? So what it means is that when they send out an invite email to do a Credas check, that'll carry all their own branding. They can even write the email themselves and template it out. If they send out text messages, they can configure all of that themselves. Yeah. When the end user then use a mobile device or a browser to go in, all of that will be branded as our client, right? The client can even put adverts in there themselves to their own customers. Wow. It's really cool. And I tell you why we've done that, right? Is we're a bit unique actually, because we understand as a business, it doesn't matter how good your tech is, if the end user can't use it and can't get through the journey, then it's not worth, you know, it's for naught. And so we're really evangelical, right, about that end user experience and getting them through. Every time there's a point of friction, you get leakage. People just stop going through. When somebody stops, that lands back at an estate agent's desk, right? They've got a problem to solve. We're trying to solve these problems for them. So one of the points of friction is if you're a estate agent, so you know somebody's in your ABC limited estate agents world, then they come out of that and go into a Credas world, then they come back to an estate. So we remove that point of friction by just branding the entire process. So they won't even be aware that they've left our customers' world and come to Credas and then come back again. All the reports can be branded and all that sort of stuff. So that's very, very cool. And then the other big one is data capture forms. That's all built in. So we'll have loads of them pre-canned for risk assessments and all that sort of stuff. So you can use our pre-canned ones or adjust them and change them.
What sort of questions would you be asking there on those forms then?
So it's up to the customer, right? So most estate agents will have a risk assessment for every customer. I think by law that's necessary to do. So they can either just digitalize their own one and send it out to the customer as part of the AML check. So you do your selfie, do your passport, you complete your risk assessment. It can all be done in one process. They can use our pre-canned version, or they can make their own ones if they want, right? And it's all built in. Your data capture can be literally anything you want, right? Any form that you get a client to fill out in a minute, you can just put it into 3.0 and put it in as part of your AML journey, all with your own branding. So all of that's pretty cool, really. So we've got a lot of stuff coming in 3.0, and it'll be an evolution for the next couple of years. There's two other massive things we've got coming out this year, and one is the Credas digital wallet. This is a big deal. So what it'll mean for our clients is, number one, millions of people will give them away for free to the end users, and millions of people will have them, and every year we'll be creating millions more based on our current, search volumes. Yeah. And what it'll mean, right, for an estate agent is at the moment, when somebody walks in and goes, I want to buy a house or sell a house, you have to, do the checks yourself, send them an invite. They have to get their passport, they have to take their selfie. Sometimes it might take a few days to do it. You might have to chase them up. Sometimes you might get a referral result and stuff. What it'll mean now is somebody can walk into an estate agent and they'll go, we need to do your AML checks. And they go, I've already got it. I'll send it to you now, right? And just ping it across. And then they can go to the next estate agent that they sell in with and do the same, and to their mortgage provider.
So that whole delaying process is just disappearing now.
Gone. It'll all be there, pre-approved in the wallet, and the end user can just literally ping it instantly to anyone. It's really good.
How long will they be valid for, those, Tim?
Well, each person viewing it can set their own rules, if that makes sense, right? So some bits of it might need to be refreshed every 3 months or 6 months, and there's different levels of robustness for each of the checks, right? But ultimately, the end game of it really is that currently, on average, an individual buying a house has to go do an ID check and an AML check, well, an ID check particularly, on average 5.4 times, right? Constantly being asked to do these same checks over and over and over. With this, they'll do it once at the start, right? And then they'll just instantly share it with everyone else. Everyone else who's receiving that will still have to pay us money, right? It's not for free. But what it means is they're not sending out the invite and waiting for the results and then dealing with them. It'll be instant, hugely efficient, right? Hugely efficient for the end user, for their customer, which is great. Hugely efficient for our customer. And it's part of this sort of evangelical focus really on ensuring the end user has a good service. And it's important, mate, because loads of us technology bods, we only worry about our customer. Right? We do everything for our customer, but ultimately it's our customer's customer, the end user.
Honestly, I've been raging about this. I don't know whether that's amazing that it now sounds like I'm shamelessly stealing this of you, but I've been banging this drum for a while now, is that as suppliers, we have always and understandably focused on the agents as that. But actually, if we can go one step beyond, those companies like your good self there, that are thinking about, actually, is it delivering for the customer's customer, are going to jump ahead of the curve, aren't they?
100%, right? So I said earlier, millions of people a year will go through this process, right? And we ignore those at our detriment, because if those people aren't having a good experience, that just rolls back on the estate agent. Do you know what I mean? The other thing that's really important, say, and we spend a lot of time on this, I talk to the guys about it a lot, is that those millions of people look like all sorts of things, right? They come from very different backgrounds, highly educated, educationally challenged, disabled, young, old, from all sorts of ethnic backgrounds. And so that's why it's important as our part of our recruitment, really, is if we only recruit 23-year-old white boys who come to work on skateboards, we'll create a software solution. And even the names of the buttons, the words, the FAQs, the terminology, the colors, the design that we've all of that will be designed for 23-year-old white boys, won't they? Does that make sense? Yeah, and people using our solution is much broader. So us as a business need to reflect the society that's using our service. So we spend a lot of time around that, ensuring that we're not excluding people. So if you're elderly, we put options in so somebody can sit next to you and do it for you on your behalf. Right? Not other solutions don't bother doing that, right? But we think a lot about these sort of things. If you're educationally challenged, or your eyesight, we choose our colorings very carefully, all this sort of stuff we spend a lot of time on, and that's why we get really good outcomes. It's very, very important, I think, as responsibility, really. If you're providing a service to millions of people, you can't be excluding sections of our society. We need to be much more.
Well, you've got to be all things to all people, haven't you? When you're hitting the whole demographic, as you said, if you're lucky, is it lucky enough or unlucky enough to only be targeting a niche, you can worry about that and specialize. But when you've got a ubiquitous service like your own and you need to hit everybody, it's got to be flexible enough to work in all those different areas, hasn't it? So
if you look at the Credas mobile app, the buttons are massive, right? They span the entire size of the phone, and that's been designed so that people who are disabled have a bigger chance to be able to hit it, as opposed to trying to hit a tiny little link or a tiny small button. All these tiny little nuances, we label everything so people are using voice navigation if they're completely disabled.
Right. Brilliant.
The color schemes, the word, all this sort of stuff. It's very important, mate. Do you know what I mean? And I feel not only commercially, as a responsibility that all of us have to ensure we're not excluding sections of society.
Need a few more like you out there, to be honest, Tim. On that basis, that's very refreshing to hear that and hear that you're doing it. And which of those? And the other thing, by the way, is of course, please make sure you when you unveil all these babies, you're doing it on one site and one site only, the wonderful kerfuffle.com. We want to be shouting about those from the hilltops when you've got those to talk about as well. Which of those ones are you most excited about? You feel are going to make the most kind of impact on the sector in the next 12 months?
There's a few things coming actually for the sector that'll have a big impact. I think the first one is the government's digital identity trust framework. Which is currently, being slowly rolled out. The first certifications will take place later this year. We're right in that front wave. We're actually going through our audits now for that. So we'll be, if not the first, one of the first, within the first dozen or so organisations in the UK. That will become big noise. What that'll mean is it'll give you a government kite mark effectively for your service. And for us, our resellers by proxy. and ultimately all providers like us are going to have to do it. And some have engaged with that over the last 2-3 years, like we have, and some haven't. And the ones who haven't will have to catch up pretty quickly, I think. So that'll be big news over the next 12 months or so. I think probably the other one that's quite big news and a big change that come up is, I touched on it earlier, half the market is still using manual processes, and we're seeing evidence of agents, potentially losing sales or losing listings because, I had it myself. Right? I was doing a buy-to-let, and it was about 200 miles away from where I live, and the agent said, "Oh, can you drive down and bring your passport and utility bills in and stuff?" I didn't want to be that guy and plug my own business, right? Be sitting there thinking, really, in this day and age, still half the people expecting people to drive into town and walk through the rain, and forget about data security and the robustness of it all, which is rubbish doing it manually. But I can do it from within 30 seconds, sitting on my couch. And yet people are making me drive into town and park up and walk into a branch somewhere. So that half of the market are probably going to start, it's already happening because we see evidence of it. The consumers won't accept that level of service. The consumers are aware services.
No, once they've done it, and let's be honest as well, Tim, on this basis, it's not just once they see it from those agents that you're providing. Hang on, I didn't have to do it for X, Y, Z. This is the way the world's going anyway, isn't it? So you're not just compared by people in this sector, you're being compared to what's going on outside of it. So those people will move, won't they? And probably en masse in quite a big period of time as well. Sorry, quite a short period of time.
Yeah, I think so. I think there'll be consumer demand for that half of the market who's still doing it manually to basically adopt digital processes. It's more convenient. The other thing is, look, HMRC are razor sharp, around AML. Right, government needs its COVID money back, doesn't it? Fines are increasing, and I think it's. We did some research recently, right, and it's put out there. And in fairness, the estate agency sector, everyone realises it's an important issue, right, and that they are the front line, actually, for the country against these sort of criminal activities. And there's an easy and hard way to do it. And nowadays, it's like pence, right? It costs you like less than £2 or whatever to use our system. It can be as cheap as 90p to do like full AML checks and ID checks using facial recognition. Better for your customers, better for the agent, it's better for everyone, right? It's more robust and it's cleaner and safer and greener. So there's no logical reason why you'd still be photocopying and all that sort of stuff. So I think that half the market.
I was trying to think, Tim, when you were telling me that. I was both surprised and not surprised that it's so big there. And then I was trying to think, why am I actually not surprised? Is it because a large percentage of probably those people who are not doing it just mistakenly think that because it's ID, that still has to be done popping down to the office? So as soon as they understand that it doesn't have to be and you can do it digitally, that's going to suddenly, the people are going to start saying, I'm not driving into town now.
Yeah, I did it for my buy-to-let. I told the guys, no way I'm traveling 2 hours to bring my passport. Also, when you look at my passport, what are you going to be doing? He hasn't been trained by the Home Office. He's going to look at it. How's he going to know it's a fake or not? And also, when they photocopy it, it kicks around their office for 6 years or whatever. No thanks. So, there's examples of that we're coming across all the time. So, yeah, those firms who are still doing it manually will the market will demand that they do something more efficient. And so I think that will happen over the next year or two as well, and that's fine, right? It's not their bag. It's if you've done it one way for 10 years and it works, I get it. Changing it is a pain, but it needn't be expensive and it's easy. I think our lowest tariff is £60 a month, and you can do like dozens and dozens and dozens for that. So for smaller estate agents, it's not a huge expense, and you're just covered. It's easier and cheaper and quicker.
Well, it sounds very exciting. It's already a fantastic growth story and everything else, with all the good stuff you've got going on there around, as we were talking about what's coming up, what you're delivering from your staff, everything else there is a really great story, actually. And I certainly already looking forward to catching some of the exciting stuff. Anybody who's interested, when they're seeing this as well, please do drop Tim a line directly. Go and have a look first as well on their landing page, Credas on kerfuffle.com. Go and see further information about what they've got on there, about the reviews as well they've got from it. But anyone should be talking to you at the moment, really, if they're looking at this as an area of review, is my gut feel on this. Tim, you got any final words for people out there that you want to let them know about?
I guess the only thing I'd say is, you know, we're not only about flogging stuff, if that makes sense. We've got a good solution. We hope people buy it. But look, if you're unsure about AML or you just want to ask some questions, need some advice, we have genuine compliance experts within the business who come from the estate agency world at very senior positions, you know, the biggest players. And so if you just want to phone up and have a chat with an expert and go, look, am I doing this right? What should I change, etc. They won't flog you stuff. We'll keep you away from the sales guys if you need to, right? And look, you know, we're good guys. We're here to help out, and we always figure, right, if we help people out and give them solutions and good answers, the money and all the commercials take care of themselves.
It'll follow. It will follow in due course.
Yeah, it always does, mate. Right, and you know, the world always turns in that way. So what I'd say to your customers or any viewers watching this, if you're not sure about something or you just want to bounce some ideas off us or us to check what you're doing at the minute, give us a bell, right, inbox us on the email or through whatever the socials, and our guys will help you out. And if you end up buying from us, great, and become a customer, fab. If you don't, that's cool too.
That's a lovely offer there, Tim. Thank you very much for doing that. And well, we'll certainly be obviously promoting you out there to these people, and it'd be good to hear from some of your mutual clients as well on a panel show or something like that going forward. So
that'd be great
to hear about that. For today, though, Tim, I thank you very much for giving us overview. I certainly know more about Credas. I think that fantastic benefit you've got there, that IP. You need to speak about these terms sometimes. You know, proprietary software, it doesn't always resonate, but what you've understood listening to all the stuff you're able to do seems to come off the back of that, doesn't it? And that's really quite powerful.
Yeah, it says building out, and if you build it yourself, it's your stuff, you put it together, you live it, your heart, soul, your DNA is in it, and that's what our solution is. And look, we don't do loads of financial services and banking, we specialise property transactions, and the vast majority of that is estate agents. That's our sweet spot. So if you are an estate agent and you want to talk about anything AML or ID verifications, just give us a shout, and our guys will help you out.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for today, Tim. Thank you.
Been a pleasure. Take care.
Bye-bye.